Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. Fabrizio Romano earlier today gave a here we go. It looks like Tottenham Hotspur have got their first signing of this January transfer window. We are here to talk about Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur. I've got two very special guests to talk about these two players. I've got Simone Dell'Uomo, director of Football Station, Sport Italia pundit, Serie A expert. Simone, how are you this morning?
I'm good. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for your invitation.
Well, hopefully we'll be talking about some signings this morning. We've also got Avi Regal, sports fan in Uruguay, and has previously written articles for Give Me Sport. Avi, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Excited for what's coming.
Yes, so am I. We've waited 30 days for it. Simone, let's come to you first. Now, of course, a report has come out this morning from Fabrizio Romano. He has stated that Tottenham Hotspur have an agreement in place for Juventus star Dejan Kulusevski. Paperwork to be signed in the next few hours. He's on his way to London. It will be a loan deal initially, around €5 million, including a buy option clause. The buy clause could become mandatory in case Tottenham Hotspur get Champions League football for next season and the number of appearances. Agreed personal terms with Spurs, and he will sign a potential 5-year deal in case mandatory buy clause will be triggered. And Fabio Practically purchased him for €35 million plus €10 million add-ons from Atalanta, and Antonio Conte wanted him into Milan in 2020. What are your thoughts on this potential signing for Spurs?
Well, I fear I'm not gonna be the right person to satisfy what every Spurs fan around the world now want to hear, want to listen to. I'm not a big fan of Dejan Kulusevski. I don't think it was a priority for Spurs because we are just talking about a proper number 10. Antonio, as you know very well, more than me, plays 3-4-2-1. He's a left-footed number 10. He's a trequartist. He loves to start his game starting from the right, cutting inside to let his left foot to score. He's a good physicality, but I don't think it's the right profile for Tottenham. So I'm a little bit amazed of how Antonio allows this to happen. I'm not sure about the fact that it was a request from Antonio. I'm not sure about that. Of course, we are talking about a plan B because the plan A and the plan B were clearly Adama Traore and Luis Diaz, that is now so close to join Liverpool. We are waiting for Dejan Kulusevski to land in London. As you said, Chris is gonna landing in London in the last couple of hours. We are talking about a double deal, £40 million around for Dejan Kulusevski. It's all about the fee. There is a sort of obligation to buy. That's not an option. It's an obligation to buy if Spurs manage to finish into the Champions League, into the top four. £40 million plus £20 million for Rodrigo Bentancur, a double operation, a double deal with Juventus. Let's move on and talk about Bentancur. Bentancur clearly offered something that at the moment, at this stage, Spurs doesn't have on their midfielders. Because of course, technically, in terms of the technical side, is technically definitely better than Neuberg, than Skip, and than Wicks. But he's not a top player, just like Kulusevski. We are not talking about top players at all. Let's move on and talk about the last recent years of Juventus. Of course, just like we said on the last show, Juventus level of the last couple of years has dropped a lot. They've been winning titles for 9 years in a row. In the last couple of years, they struggle a lot, not just to win the title, but to finish into the top four. So what's the main difference? The main difference is that 7-8 years ago, the midfielders of Juventus presented names just like Pirlo, just like Pogba, just like Marquinhos, just like Arturo Vidal, Bentancur, Kulusevski, and players like that transformed that kind of football club in a struggling top four football club. That's the biggest question. So I know many Juventus fans that today are clapping, are celebrating, are uncorking their sparkling wine towards this Paratici operation, to be honest. So this is the situation right now. Paratici is a good man, he's a great man. He did amazingly in Juventus. He did wrong signings in the last couple of years for Juventus. and he's doing the same from signing for Tottenham right now, that worries me. That worries me a lot. The biggest news and the good news is that Tottenham, just like I said the last couple of days, has got a certain money to spend. But what I fear is that we are talking about another was of money. That's my feeling, that's my impression right now. So let's move on and see what happens.
I'll come back to you about Kulusevski in a second. Just want to come to Avi. Avi, I know you're here to talk about Bentancur mainly, but the possible signing for Tottenham Hotspur for Kulusevski. Are you excited by this signing? Is this a good signing for Spurs?
Look, I think if you had asked me 2 or 3 days ago, I wouldn't be so excited. I would have agreed with you a little bit more, Simone. The truth is that I trust Antonio Conte. I think if there's one person who can teach him or both of them everything that they need to know, it's him. I think Kulusevski suits our formation pretty well because we play usually with a 3-4-3, and I think that right-hand spot that Lucas Moura is now occupying, I think he would suit that role pretty well, Kulusevski, if I'm honest. But it's true, and we can't deny the fact that he's an option B. He's not our main target for this transfer window. That was Luis Diaz, and I was a big fan of him because it's also another player that I followed for a long time. But sometimes at Tottenham you can get nice things. That's what we always say, and I think we have to be excited with him because he's a good player. He has a big potential. I've spoken to some Parma fans, and they all say that when he was there, he was an incredible player, one of the players with most potential in the world. Of course, at Juventus, he's had a difficult time. He has flopped there, according to Juventus fans, but the potential is there, and he's still very young. I'm not a big fan of him, but I trust Antonio Conte and Fabio Paratici. I think they know what they're doing on this occasion, at least. I'm quite excited by it, but not over the moon, let's say.
Simone, let's come to you. Before I get your thoughts further on Kulusevski, just want to go through some facts and stats on him. He's 21 years old, Sweden international. He's played in Serie A for Atalanta, Parma and Juventus. He was voted the best young player in Serie A in the 2019-2020 season. Total of 94 appearances in Serie A football, 15 goals. So far this season, 20 appearances, 1 goal. He has been dubbed as a player who can play box-to-box, winger or on a defensive-minded midfielder. Main position is attacking and just behind the striker. Physically strong, versatile. His qualities are speed, stamina, ability to switch play. An ex-boss said, a player that covers the most distance and has the right mentality. Simone, would you agree with any of that?
Yeah, I think that he's the right mentality. He's got the right mentality because he wants to win, because he's strong in terms of his physicality. Like I said, he fits perfectly 3-4-2-1, starting his game from the right and cutting inside with his left-footed, just like Avi was saying. But of course, Juventus fans are so happy to get rid of him that there could be some truth on it. I agree with Avi that in Parma was absolutely electric. He was fantastic. He was a dynamite, to be honest. Maybe some injuries, maybe his process to develop his potential was a little bit ruined by some choices of his manager. But at all, to be honest, let's move on and talk about the way, if you are a proper sporting director, you are acting on the market. Because if I wish to spend 40 million pounds on Kulusevski, I'll go and splash the cash, 50 million pounds for Zaniolo from Roma that has got the same characteristics, but he's a better player for me than Kulusevski. Then, guys, in the next
where does Kulusevski fit into this Tottenham Hotspur team? And in your honest opinion, do you think he will improve the Tottenham Hotspur starting 11?
He's another option. He's not going to improve our starting 11. Your starting 11. He can play as a number 10, 3-4-2-1 with Sonny after Kane. That's just my suggestions, my thoughts on it. So he's not going to improve the starting 11. He's not going to change the dimension of Spurs, at least right now. Then we'll see, because he's only 21. So he can have a potential. I'm not so sure, to answer to your primordial question, about his potential at all. We can see we can see that, and so I'm asking a little bit so many questions about what's the plan of bringing in Bryan Gil last summer from Sevilla, spending 25 million pounds, and then loan him to Valencia and spending other 40 million pounds for a player that has got more or less the same characteristics, because Dejan Kulusevski is a little bit of Bryan Gil. So let's move on. Let's see what happens. I'm not a big fan of this double deal at all, guys, to be honest.
No, I can certainly tell. Abby, let's come to you. Where do you think Kulusevski will fit into this Tottenham Hotspur team?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if he would start right away, especially because Lucas Moura is on good form recently. But I think he will compete with him for that position, the position on the right-hand side of the top three. I think he could play a good role there. But I don't particularly disagree with you, Simone, that he's not exactly the kind of player that maybe we should be looking for at the moment. But I think he's a welcome addition. I do question a lot of what Fabio Paratici is doing at the club at the moment, but I also trust him, and I know that he's a very good sporting director, and I would give him a lot of time, to be honest. I wouldn't judge him at this moment. I think he has some similarities to Bryan Gil, but there are also maybe different players. Bryan prefers to play on the left. Kulusevski prefers to play on the right. I think we'll have to wait and see. That's the truth. When it comes to the position that he would play on the pitch, I think it's very clear for me that he's being brought to play on the right of the top three. That's what I think.
And I agree with you. I agree with you. But Avi, what's the point of spending 25 million pounds for Bryan Gil and then loaning him out to Valencia at the first occasion?
I completely agree with you. I think Bryan should have gone to a lower Premier League club.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Simone, when I spoke earlier about a number of positions that Kulusevski could play in, where do you think he would fit in best in this team?
As I was saying to you, Chris, 3-4-2-1, the number 10 on the right, cutting inside with his left foot. So for me, it's about Kulusevski on the right, Sonny on the left, and Harry up front. That's my ideal solution. But of course, in that role, you already had Lucas Moura, and you already had a Steven Bergwijn that is struggling to find a first team spot right now. So I strongly hope that Daniel Levy and Fabio Paratici won't allow Steven Bergwijn to leave for Ajax right now, because he's another possibility. It would be another mistake, guys. It would be another mistake. I will take all the life Steven Bergwijn above Dejan Kulusevski. All the life.
Simone, Victor Ross on screen now. He has been brilliant for the Sweden national team. I think he is a Conte player, high work rate and adaptive. Would you go along with that?
Yeah, I agree on his work rate, just like Avi was brilliantly saying. I absolutely agree on the work rate, because he loves to fight, he loves the duels, he loves to have the ball, to thinking about how to score. But I'm not sure about his potential. I think he's a good player. But he struggled to find a place in Juventus. And we are not talking about the best Juventus side. We are talking about the last couple of years of Juventus, a very struggling side, not so high in terms of the level. So something is worrying me, and it's definitely a deal I wouldn't pursue it to do.
Yeah, he's played 20 league games this season for Juventus. What's his performances been like this season?
Good performances, but not excellent. Not excellent. Just a couple of goals. I remember a goal 1 month ago in Rome when he equalized, when Juventus did that amazing comeback against Mourinho's side. But he has not impressed so much. Last season he scored some key goals. The one in the Super Cup, Italian Super Cup final. Last season was better, but he didn't show to have developed that kind of potential that Parma fans were thinking that it would have developed. So that's the biggest question. Why Juventus are currently decide to get rid of him? Why? That's the biggest question. When I think about the wrong signing of the last couple of years of Paratici in Juventus, I'm thinking just on that profiles. And if I need to splash the cash for someone from Juventus, I would have gone for McKennie, not for Kulusevski, neither on Bentancur.
Now, Abby, let's come to you. Of course, Tottenham Hotspur are now in advanced talks with Rodrigo Bentancur, 19 million euros plus 6 million euro bonuses included. He is 24. He played for Boca Juniors between 2015 and 2017. Then moved to Juventus in 2017. He spent 5 seasons there, including this season, 133 league appearances, 2 goals, 19 appearances this season. Uruguay international, 46 caps. He has been named as a dynamic, hard-working, skillful, elegant, and tactically versatile midfielder, comfortable on either foot. Now, I saw yesterday on Twitter, you put a fantastic feed on Twitter all about Rodrigo Bentancur. Tell us more about him.
Thank you. Yeah, I wrote a thread about him that went completely viral on Twitter. Basically, I'd say he's a hardworking midfielder. He's a weird player because he's not particularly great at anything, but he's good at many different things. I'd say he's a tactical player more than a technical player. He's not a Dembele or Ndombele kind of player. He's not gonna put through balls that are incredible, but he's a very tidy player. Yeah, and I'd say his biggest strength is his tactical awareness. That's what I have to say. He's not particularly a box-to-box midfielder, and he's also not a defensive midfielder. He's a weird mix of different things. I think he has the best of the other 3 central midfielders that we have. He has the tactical awareness of Højbjerg, the dribbling of Winks, and defensive capabilities of Skip. I know that may not sound maybe too optimistic, because you can say, "Oh no, another Winks, another Skip, another Højbjerg."
Do you know what, Abby? I expected so much positivity from you and Simone today.
Look, I was I was very clear about this in my thread. I tried not to be biased about the fact that I'm from Uruguay and I want a Uruguayan player, but I also think he's a good player. I'm not saying this as a negative thing. I think he's a good player. He would add something to our squad, and I'm not sure if he would start right away. I don't think so, but I do think he could be a good player for a Conte system. He's not exactly like other players that Conte has played, especially at Inter. There's no one like him, but I think he's a hard worker and he's a tactical player, and Conte loves that kind of players. He's also young, and his potential is very high, very high. So when I say that he's similar to Winks in some respect, I don't think he's similar to Winks in the fact that their ceiling is the same. I think he's similar to Winks at the moment because he's not exactly being played in his right position at Juventus, because at Juventus he's being played as a regista, and a regista is a player that needs to have a lot of vision and excellent long passing and creating capabilities. He's not that kind of player. He just doesn't suit the Juventus system at the moment, but he was excellent a couple of seasons ago when they won the title, and I think the potential is there. He's still a young player, and I think if there's one person who can make him a much better player. That's Antonio Conte. So I think that's the kind of deal that we're doing now. I think he's a player that we're buying because we trust Conte to improve him. And yeah, that's basically what I think. He's not a goal scorer. He's not gonna appear on the box and shoot from distance. He's not that kind of player. He's not an Eriksen type of player. He's a ball retention player. He has a good mix of all the qualities that a central midfielder needs. He's good at defending, especially tactical defending, like being at the right place at the right time. That's his biggest strength, I say. But of course, he's not a flashy signing. He's not going to do incredible skills. He's not an Ndombele kind of player, and he's also not a traditional defensive midfielder like maybe Wanyama or that kind of players. He's not very strong, but he's smart and uses his body well. He's good at dribbling and getting away from players and finding space for other teammates. I think I think the best way to describe him is that he's a strange midfielder because he combines a lot of different characteristics. But he's also a tactical player, and I think he's a good addition to our squad. I think he's a good addition. I think he wouldn't start right away. He's not better than Hojbjerg at the moment, and I know people are gonna kill me for this, but I do rate Hojbjerg, so keep that in mind. I think
us Tottenham fans, and I'm sure Antonio Conte, is the same. We need players to be coming into this starting 11 and improve our starting 11 almost immediately. And it does worry me slightly, the fact that both of you are saying that these two players that we're potentially signing, 30 hours or so, are not going to be starters. Do you really believe that? They're not going to improve this Tottenham Hotspur starting 11?
I think they both improve a lot our overall squad. I think I would trust Bentancur a lot more than Ndombele and Lo Celso at the moment. I think he will play. I don't think he would start right away. Like if we signed Luis Diaz, he would be one of our top players. But none of these players are that kind of players. I think they would improve our squad. I think they may eventually start for us. But I'm not sure if any of them will start right away. That's by what I think. I think both players will need to learn a lot about Antonio Conte. I think he needs to teach their system to these players, and maybe eventually they will start, but not right away. I think one of Bentancur's biggest weaknesses in the last season, basically, was that he gave away the ball in important areas, but I'm not worried about that, if I'm honest, because I think Antonio Conte is one of those managers who is the best at teaching midfielders to not make silly mistakes. I think we've seen it with Eric Dyer and Ben Davies, who have improved a lot under him. Also, Davinson Sanchez. I said midfielders. I'm talking about defenders now, but just as an example, I think his system is so automated, and so it doesn't require a lot of creativity from players. I think it's a system. It's a clear system where players know exactly what they have to do, and I think this is perfect for Bentancur, because when he makes these kind of mistakes, it's when he needs to think for himself with the ball at his feet. And I think if we consider that this is a system that has so much automated moves, let's say, I think that would be excellent for him. I think it would improve his overall playing ability, let's say. His decision making will be much better, I would say. And I am quite excited to see what's going to happen with him. I'm not too pessimistic about it. What I think, which is important to say, I think he will be either a flop and we will call him Deadwood in 6 months' time, or an excellent player. I think there's no in between. Like it's it's something. It's a gamble to say the least. He has the potential to be an incredible Premier League midfielder. He has the potential to dominate midfield, but it's also possible, because no one knows, that he may flop or not play particularly well under Antonio Conte. What I think is that if Conte wants him, if he requested the signing, I'm really optimistic, because he probably sees something in him, about his tactical awareness and his weird combination of skill sets that can make this a very good signing. And I trust Conte to teach him a lot and improve him as a player. But it's true that it's not a marquee signing or something like that.
Now, let's take a comment here from James. James writes, same as usual, we get excited about someone rather than no one. We could sign a wheelbarrow and we'd lose our mind right now. And we're so close to the deadline, same every window. Now, if you do have any questions for Simone and Avi, do put them in the comments, and I'll try and put as many on screen as possible, because we've now got over 1,000 people watching. So thank you so much for the support of the channel. Simone, you were dying to talk about Rodrigo Bentancur when you came on. You wanted to talk for 2 minutes about Kulusevski, but I'm sure you're excited about Bentancur. Tell me the positives about this possible signing.
I completely agree with Avi. He's not a player that changed neither the dimension, neither the lineup for Antonio. And the main question to answer to Avi is that is Antonio really the right man that was asking for a player like him? Because if so, okay, but we're talking just about a player that improved numerically, improved the squad. 20 million pounds is a good bargain, but of course, how many players around Europe are better than Rodrigo Bentancur, guys? How many players are better than him? Many, so many. There was an opportunity. Juventus in these hours are currently signing Zakaria, oldie midfielder, proper number 8 from Gladbach, for just 7 million pounds, because his contract will be expiring on June. That's the biggest question. I know in Italy, Cagliari are offering worldwide Nathan Nandez, another Uruguayan international. And I think that Nandez was the proper player for Antonio, because he can play as a right wing back, because he can play as an oldie midfielder. Rodrigo Bentancur, as just rightly so, Avi was keep on saying, is that he's not a player that is shining in one single aspect. He has got a little bit of everything. His ratings is at 6 on a little bit of everything, but I would have gone for other options. The biggest problem, guys, is that you spend 60 million pounds for good options, for just good options. If I'm willing to spend 60 million pounds, it's just because I want to improve and I want to change the dimension of the current sports team. So the great news is that just like I knew, Daniel Levy and Luis still a lot to spend, to invest on the squad. But it's all, Chris, all about recruitment. All about recruitment. We are talking about wrong signings once again. And we are talking, Avi, about players once again with both Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur, about player that has still to play once in the best league in the world, once in the Premier League. And they deserve and they are gonna be needed time to adapt to this style of football. Always the same problems, guys.
Mm-hmm. I
know I spoke to you a couple of days ago about Amrabat. Do you think that this deal could possibly still get done if we're bringing Bentancur in? I
don't think it's about or. If you bring in such a profile like Bentancur, I would not go to Amrabat. But of course, if I need to spend, Chris, 25 million pounds on Bentancur or 1 million and a sort of buy option for Amrabat, I would have gone to Amrabat, because Amrabat is not a less player than Bentancur. Bentancur is not for better than Amrabat, in my opinion. So
I massively disagree there.
Okay.
If we happen to choose Amrabat instead of Bentancur, I'm jumping off a bridge. He's a million times better. Bentancur is a million times better than Amrabat. I think 19 million plus 6 add-ons is a very good deal for us. I think he's worth between maybe 23, 25 million pounds, I'd say. I think it's a good deal. But we also have to consider one thing, and it's something that I saw on Twitter that makes a lot of sense, if I'm honest, and it's the fact that I think we are making a special kind of deal with Juventus. I don't know if any of you saw this on Twitter, that I think we may be overpaying for Kulusevski and underpaying for Bentancur, so that the overall is fair, I'd say, because Boca Juniors have a 30% sell-on clause for Bentancur. So it's like a trick, I'd say, so that Juventus pay less to Boca. I think that's what's happening here. I don't really think we are paying 19 million plus 6. I think we are paying overall a little bit more. If we were only gonna buy him, I say we'd be paying more or less maybe 25 plus add-ons or 26 plus add-ons. But that's an important comment. I think he's a million times better than Amrabat. I would not be able to forgive Paratici if he brought only Amrabat and not Bentancur. I don't rate Amrabat at all. He can't get a game for Fiorentina. That says a lot. Since when are Spurs the kind of club that sign Fiorentina rejects? I'm not. I can't get behind that, to be honest. I don't mind him on loan if he's in addition to maybe Bentancur, just to make up the numbers. But I'm not a fan of him. About Nathan Nandes, that you mentioned him, at the moment he's playing as a right wing back, and I'm not so sure that he's a good Conte player because he's a bit of a loose cannon. He runs a lot, but sometimes like a headless chicken. He's not exactly the kind of player that I think would thrive under Conte. I think Bentancur is a much more tactical aware player. And I think Conte will be able to teach him a lot more than he would be able to teach Nathan Nandes. But I wouldn't be against him in case that we were in the market for him. He's on bad form. But if you ask me who do you prefer for this current Spurs team between Nathan Nandes and Bentancur, leaving aside the fact that we need a right wing back, but that's a different conversation. If we are talking about only these two players, I think Bentancur is a better fit for Spurs and for Antonio Conte, if I'm honest.
But if you're chasing a proper number 8, I don't think as a number 8 too as well. Nathan Nandes is not as good as Bentancur. For me, Nathan Nandes also as a number 8 can play better than Bentancur. On Sofian Amrabat, Avi, it was so unlucky because in Verona he was shining, and in Fiorentina, yes, of course, we're talking about Fiorentina reject in terms of media situation. It's not good for a club like Tottenham to bring on a player that Fiorentina are currently offloading, but he can play in 43. He cannot play in 43, but in 3-4-1, he could have been good for me. Just one.
How do you think both of these players will adapt to the Premier League? Because, of course, we've seen over the years when foreign players do come to the Premier League, some of them really struggle.
Yeah, it's what I fear. It's exactly what I fear, Chris. And Tottenham are currently spending 60 million pounds for a player that still, as I was keep on saying, have to play one single game in the Premier League, and they need time to adapt. Another league, another style. And we are not talking about left backs, full backs, right wing backs. We are talking about proper holding midfielder, proper center midfielder in a key position in every single football team. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit scared about this kind of situation. It's all about the amount of money that Tottenham are willing to spend to Juventus.
Do you know, Eddie writes on the screen now, your two guests have burst our bubble. I think a lot of Spurs fans this morning, including myself, were quite happy. Have you two anything positive to say about these players?
Look, I'm trying to be positive here. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna say Bentancur is the next coming of Messi or Iniesta, but I think he's a good player. I do think he's a good player, and I think he fits. I think the most important thing here is to know if Conte requested him or if this is a Paratici signing or a Levy signing. That's the most important thing. Nothing else matters. If Conte didn't ask for this signing, I'm not happy. But if Conte asked for this signing, I think he has a lot of potential. Both of them. These are both players that have a lot of potential, a super high ceiling, both of them, and at the moment are maybe on bad form, and maybe they don't fit the Juventus system, which that's something that we need to consider too, because Juventus are a club that are known for ruining players. I'm sorry, Juventus fans are going to hate me for this, but it's the truth. So, many players go to Juventus and then disappear from the face of the earth, or start playing bad and then go to different clubs and revitalize their careers. That's the truth. I think when it comes to Kulusevski, especially, I think he doesn't suit the Juventus style at all. Something that I wanted to say about Kulusevski too is the fact that I think he's a weird player too, because he's a bit stiff for a winger. He's not agile like maybe Lucas Moura or other wingers. But I think if Conte wants him and he trusts him to play an important role at our club, I'm happy with him. I'm happy with him. Of course, when after being linked to Luis Diaz, after being linked to him, I was very disappointed about Kulusevski. But the more I think about it, the happier I am. That's the truth. And the same happens with Bentancur. When we were first linked with him, I was happy because he's from Uruguay. But if I thought about it with a cold mind, let's say, I wasn't the most excited. Then I started to analyze a little bit more about him. I started to look into what Juventus have done in the past with him and without him. And I think the truth here is that none of these players fit the Juventus style, but they are both good players. I think we have two players now with a lot of potential, two players that Conte may be able to improve a lot. And if he manages to improve these players, we have two real gems. That's the bottom line for me.
Simone, Tottenham really need that creative spark in midfield, and a lot would argue that hasn't really been there since Christian Eriksen has left Tottenham. And we also need a set piece specialist as well, someone to take out free kicks. Would either of these two players fit that?
They are not shying in terms of free kicks player, guys. I don't think Tottenham are willing to spend this kind of money to bring in players that can score as Christian Eriksen used to do on the free kicks. So let's see, guys. Let's see. They are good in making all of that, but I don't see Dejan Kulusevski as a specialist on free kick. I don't see neither Rodrigo Bentancur as a specialist on free kick. So let's see what is happening. Currently, I'm checking just a couple of situations on the market around Europe, and Nathan Hernandez is close to join Juventus on loan. Dear Avi, just to say. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. Look, I think something important to say here is that a lot of fans want a creative midfielder for us, an Eriksen type of player. But I think it's very clear that Conte doesn't agree. I think it's very clear that Conte doesn't want that kind of player, because we could have perfectly taken Arthur from Juventus, from the very same club that we're taking these two players. We could have gone for Arthur, sorry, and he's a much more creative player. But it's very clear that Conte doesn't want that profile of player. He wants a player that's more similar to what we have, maybe better. Maybe I don't know if he's better or not. But if you see the players that we're being linked to, they are all similar players to the ones that we have in profile. We're talking about Amrabat, Bentancur, Bissouma. I saw a post from the Mirror, which is unreliable, but he's being linked to us, and they are all similar players, more or less. We're not talking about creative players. We're not talking about players like Eriksen, like Modric, like Ndombele. He doesn't want that kind of player. So that's what excites me. That maybe we are not too excited that about the fact that these aren't flashy signings, but it's clearly what Conte wants. So I won't argue with him if they are good signings or not. That's what keeps me more optimistic, if I'm honest. I think they are good players, and Conte clearly wants these kind of players, because I think very few fans would have said that we needed a winger rather than a right wing back now, and on this transfer window. Most of us would have wanted a right wing back like Lamptey, for example, rather than a winger. But it's also clear that Conte wants a winger, because we were linked to Luis Diaz and a couple other wingers, and now we're getting Kulusevski. So it's clearly a priority for him. Same happens with the central midfielder. He wants this type of players. That's a fact. We can't deny it. So maybe even if some of us may disagree with that, I think we have all the reasons to be excited, if I'm honest. These aren't incredible players, none of them, but it's clearly what Conte wants, and that's all I care about, if I'm honest.
Simone, I'd like to take a question here from Daryl. He's asking, ask the panel if Kulusevski is better than Nasser Chadli.
I hope so, guys. But you paid Nasser Chadli just £7 million from 20. It's a little bit different than spending £40 million. I completely agree, Avi, on your explanation. I completely agree. So I think it's gonna be in that kind of situation. I'm just taking an argument about how much money you spend for these both kind of players that won't change right now the dimension of sports.
Simone, Avi, have you anything to add on the two players that we've mentioned today?
Not really. I think we should stay optimistic and then judge if maybe these players fail or anything. I prefer to be optimistic and then be disappointed than be negative and then maybe be excited. I know it's hard to do that, because it's always easier to avoid disappointment if you don't have high expectations from the beginning. But I choose to be optimistic. That's the truth. I like these players and I see their potential, and that's all I care about.
Just to add something, I just hope that it was not just Paratici's panic in that kind of situation, deadline day coming close. Paratici, as you know, is very keen on communication. Is very about relationships with agents, with other sporting directors. And in a tough situation, the first thing he did was to go to his close friends in Juventus to take as soon as possible players that can come to the only players that he can sign for Spurs right now at the moment. I hope this is not the situation that I was explaining.
Are you surprised by that, Simone, that these signings will be coming from his former club? And do you think that Spurs will do much more business in the next 30-odd hours?
I expect something more. Maybe I expect a third deal. I hope not with Juventus, but with other football clubs in Europe or in the world. Let's see. Spurs are currently checking the situation about another number 9, because yes, of course, Steven Bergwijn, both Lucas and Sonny can play as a false 9, but Spurs are currently checking the market on another number 9. So let's see what happens. Andrea Belotti from Torino, his contract is expiring at the end of the season. So we are talking about possibilities. Let's check something more. Morata from Juventus too. but he's on loan from Atletico. So let's check the situations about Atleti, because Atletico doesn't seem to allow him to live on loan once again. He wants someone that is ready to splash the cash, at least 20, 30 million pounds for his deal. So let's check these kind of situations. Let's check what can happen in the last couple of hours, because deadline day is tomorrow. So let's see what happens.
If I ask the both of you, for those people who just watch Premier League football in England and don't really watch Serie A, if you had to compare Kulusevski and Bentancur to a Premier League player, who would it be?
Wow, that's a good question, because Kulusevski has got his own specific characteristics. I don't know. I don't know how to answer. I will compare him with Zaniolo from Rome, but Zaniolo comes from Serie A. Premier League, maybe Rafinha, but Rafinha is faster and is stronger than Kulusevski. So I wouldn't have the right answer to your question, mate.
Avi?
I think Bentancur is like maybe a better version of Winks. That's what I think. And I know that sounds negative, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think he's defensively better and better on the ball. I think, if we're talking about similarities, his style is similar to Winks. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are on the same level. I'm not sure about that. I think we can compare him to the best version of Winks, maybe, but consistently, the best version of Winks with a much higher ceiling. I think that's the best way to describe him. Although it may sound negative to some.
I completely
last question. Sorry, Simone, go on.
No, I completely agree with Davi with this comparison between the Winks and Bentancur. That's a kind of similarity that we can find.
There's a couple of comments on screen now saying Harry Winks, Calvin Phillips, Tielemans. Do you agree with that?
No, Tielemans is a much more forward-thinking player. He's much better passer of the ball, and he scores screamers. You're never gonna see a long shot from Bentancur in the whole season. He never shoots.
So, Avi, there is a lot of negativity in your words, to be honest, because we're talking about a player that cannot score, a player that is good in doing everything.
He's a good player.
He's a good player, but nothing more. Nothing more, guys.
He's not a goal scorer. He's not meant to be.
I've got to say, I am a little surprised on both of your comments today. I was really excited this morning, thinking Tottenham have got some signings, or they're about to get some signings over the line. But I've got to say that I do really appreciate both of you coming on here and giving me your honest opinions rather than probably what us Tottenham Hotspur fans want to hear. So thank you very much for your honest opinions. Simone, how many more signings do you think Tottenham Hotspur will get over the line in the next 30 odd hours, and who do you see leaving in this transfer window?
Just one, maybe tomorrow. But let's see about the players that Fabio is currently working to float, because Tanguy Ndombele now is close to rejoin Olympique de Lyon. On Gilo Celso, there is a concrete possibility to be back in Spain, because I don't expect Olympique de Lyon to buy both Lo Celso and Ndombele. So I think for Lo Celso now is all about Sevilla or about Villarreal. There is a huge relationship between Tottenham and Villarreal for the Foyt deal in the last couple of years. Let's wait something for Dele. For Dele, I think it's all about Newcastle, a duel between Newcastle and Everton right moment, even if Newcastle is all about trying to afford for burn from Brighton. So let's see, let's check this type of solution. For Joe Rodon, I expect a last chance for Brighton too. Let's see what happens. I expect one more signing tomorrow, but I still don't know, and they still have to try to understand what is in Paratici's mind, because I don't know the right position in which we have to expect the last deal for Spurs.
Pappy writes here, are Simone and Avi considering the Antonio Conte factor? So, surely that is a great question and a great point, because Antonio Conte has improved a number of Tottenham Hotspur players. Simone, let's start with you on that. Antonio Conte improving the likes of Kulusevski and Bentancur?
If I have to rate, I will go for 5 on Bentancur and 5 on Kulusevski, guys. I'm gonna be honest. I think that he can improve the players, but I'm not thinking about players that can change the system and the dimension of the club right now.
Avi, what about you?
What's the question? Can you repeat the question?
We can go to the question on screen as well. What rank out of 10 would you give these players? And can Antonio Conte really improve? Because Kulusevski and Bentancur, although both you guys have turned around and said that they're not fantastic signings, surely with the manager like Antonio Conte, the way he is, he's going to improve these players anyway.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think Antonio Conte can improve these players a lot, because their potential is extremely high for both of them. These are players with a lot of potential, who are, unfortunately for Juventus, being played in the wrong positions, in the wrong system. So if there's one person in the world that I trust to improve these players a lot, that's Antonio Conte. There's no better manager for them. So I think there are reasons to be excited. Maybe we are not super excited now because we remember how they are playing now for Juventus, but I'm not sure that's the best indicator of how good these players are. I think we need to look at the national teams. I haven't seen the Swedish national team, but I heard many good things about him. And Bentancur is a pillar player for the Uruguayan national team, and that's a fact. We can't deny it. I think Antonio Conte will improve these players a lot. If I had to rate this transfer window, let's say, and we don't sign anyone else other than these 2 players, I think that would be a 6. But I think there's potential there to be excited. I think we may see an incredible version of these players, and that's the reason to be excited, to be honest. I think it's a 6 or 7 overall.
Comment on screen for you, Avi. What are their main assets? And Bentancur, during international football, what has he been like?
He's a tactical player, 100% a tactical player for the national team. That's very important. He's a player that's always on in the right place at the right time. He's never out of position. He's the kind of player that managers love in that respect. He's not gonna grab the ball and start dribbling the pitch and then lose the ball and leave space behind. He's not that kind of player. He's a player that knows where to be standing all the time, and that's something that people who understand a lot about football appreciate, because I think the average fan of the national team, let's say, they don't see a lot in him because he's not a flashy he's not a flashy player. He's not gonna do skills and tricks and flicks and that kind of stuff. But if you analyze football and you like going deep into how useful a player is for a team, everyone who likes football and to go into tactical analysis loves Bentancur. That's the kind of player that he is. He's also a pretty good dribbler. We can't forget that. So he's an important player for the national team. He starts every game, and Uruguay have a very good midfield. We can't forget that. We have Valverde, we have Vecino, we have Arambarri, who plays for Getafe, which I think you may not know a lot, but he's a very, very good player for Getafe. Very good player. And Uruguay have a strong midfield, and he starts every game. He never misses a game, and he plays 90 minutes every game. So he's an important player. All managers like him because of his tactical awareness, and I think for that reason, Conte will like him too. That's what I think.
Well, on that point, Simone, let's come to you. Do you think Antonio Conte is extremely happy with these two signings if they both go ahead, because facts and stats right on the screen now. Do you think these players are better suited in England than playing in Italy, and that's why Conte has identified them?
I don't think he's uncorking his sparkling wine, guys, to be honest. I don't think he's celebrating. I don't think he's excited about this kind of opportunity. We are talking about opportunity. I strongly hope that what Avis keep on saying is true. That is was asking for this profile of players in terms of the tactical analysis. Rodrigo Bentancur can be good. I agree with Avi, but he needs to learn how to play the high-intensity football that the style that Premier League demands. And it's all about that kind of situation. Let's see what happens. Let's see how he can improve this kind of players. Let's see the near future for Spurs.
Simone, Darren writes on screen now, Chris, cheer up. See, people are so used to seeing a smile on my face. I need you guys to cheer me up before we leave.
Cheer up, Chris. Cheer up.
Look,
No,
I told you already that there are many reasons to be excited. Maybe not over the moon. Maybe they are not incredible signings, but these are good signings. That's what I think. I am quite excited about them.
No,
I agree with this comment. I think Antonio will take these players as 5s and turn them into 8 or 9s. I completely agree with that.
Okay, but for 60 million pounds, let's give Antonio a 7 that he can turn in 10, in 8, 9, 10. That's the main plot about it, guys. There is a reason to cheer up. It's actually that Tottenham can spend. Daniel Levy is spending money. He's spending money. That's to underline. That's to point out. 60 million pounds. It's all about recruitment, guys. It's all about recruitment. I keep on saying from Steven Hitchens years under Jose Mourinho and last summer for Fabio Paratici. I keep on saying that. It's all about the quality of the players you are currently bringing in. That's what I think about.
Can I just go back to what you both said? Will we actually expect goals from either of these players or not? Because when I read those stats out earlier, neither of them have seemed to have scored very many goals.
I expect goals from Kulusevski. I don't expect goals at all from Rodrigo Bentancur.
I agree. Bentancur is not a goal scorer. That's it's like expecting goals from Højbjerg. It's not going to happen. They are not goal scoring players. Kulusevski, I think Kulusevski is a player that scores much more, and I particularly like his finishing style. I think it's similar to Bale last season when he lost a bit of pace, but his technique is very good with the inside part of his foot.
Simone, lastly,
yeah.
do you think that Tottenham have more of a chance of top 4 with these two signings? Yes or no?
No.
I do. I do. I think they're not gonna challenge for the title or anything like that. But I think there are more chances of finishing the top 4 with these players than with Ndombele, who won't get a minute on the pitch. I think there's more chances. Yes.
Here's one for you, Simone. Can you rank Skip, Winks, Højbjerg, and Bentancur? So who's best out of these players?
Kulusevski, just like we were keep on saying, is a different players on Skip, on Winks, on Hobby, and Bentancur. We are talking about center midfielder for 3-4-2-1 for Conte. Who is a better player? Maybe I will go for Højbjerg, but I'd love to see the right potential for Skip. So I will suggest this kind of answer.
I think it's very hard to say because it's like asking, for example, where would you rank Messi at the moment? At the moment, Messi is playing horribly, but you won't say that he's a bad player. He's probably the best player ever, just on bad form in a system that may not be the best for him. That's why it's hard to say, because overall, I think Bentancur has the potential to be a better player than all of them, maybe except for Skip, who I rate very highly. But overall, I think he has the potential to be much better than Højbjerg, better than Winks, better than than most of them. But at the moment, he's playing in a system that doesn't suit him. That's the truth. So it's very hard to say, because if I had to rank him, I would say that he goes below Skip and maybe similar to Højbjerg and Winks, depending on the form that they are. But that's not really the most accurate thing in the world, because we're talking about a player that's out of form and playing in a system that doesn't suit him. So overall, I think he can be much better than this. So that's why I'm still excited about him, even if at the moment he's not the best player in the world.
Well, I'm certainly going to get behind these players, and hopefully Antonio Conte can turn both these two into real stars if the deals get over the line, which hopefully they will. Simone, thanks so much for your time today. Please tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
On social media, I've got my own page, Simone Dell'Uomo 21, and I've got as well the own page for my website, Football Station, the station of football. Of course, in England, that's the situation. In Italy, you can find me on television too, but of course, you need to learn Italian to follow me. That's the biggest.
You'll be on Sport Italia tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, early morning, 9 o'clock. Many coffee. Life is tough under Paratici, working after Paratici, to be honest.
I think we all need a coffee right now. Avi, thanks so much for coming on the channel for the first time. Really appreciate your input.
Thank you. Thanks to you. You can. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm a big fan of this channel. I like what you're doing, and I appreciate your commitment that you're here all the time doing this kind of live streamings and videos. So I think that's excellent for all Spurs fans. And thank you. Thanks a lot for having me here. It's a pleasure to speak to you all. You can find me on Twitter. I have my thing here. I don't know how you call it. I'm at Tom_Spur, and also at Avi_Regal. Those are my two accounts. I speak about marketing in my personal account and Spurs in my other account. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Well, Simone and Avi, thanks so much for all of your time, and thanks to all of the 1,200 people that were watching this live stream. Thanks so much for all of your support and your comments and subscribing to the channel. There is 30-odd hours left of this transfer window, so it will be an interesting end. How many players will Fabio Paratici get over the line, and how many players will head out the door? I'll see you in the next video later on today. Until then, come on, you Spurs.